Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be playing with this hopefully amazing palette. I haven't tried it yet. I just ordered it. It took quite a while to get it, I'm not gonna lie to you, but that's just really our postal system's fault and nothing to do with this palette or the company or anything. I don't really know how to say this. I think it's like Qing Beauty. I don't know, I could be entirely wrong, but as it says here, there are 117 pretty pigments inside of this palette, and I am so excited to play with this. I actually saw this on a Instagram ad. I'm pretty sure it's gone like viral on TikTok. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really spend a whole lot of time on social media outside of when I'm posting myself, so I really don't know a whole lot about this palette other than what I read in the comments on that one ad that I saw. So I went ahead and ordered it. I saw in those comments that it is apparently $2 cheaper if you order it on Amazon. So that's where I went ahead and got it from. It retails for $41, which seems really expensive for a palette, but wait until you see what's inside of it. This is what it looks like. Isn't there just like so much going on? I don't even know where to begin with this. I think firstly I want to start by maybe swatching a couple of these. Like I said, I just got this in the mail yesterday. I have not played with it at all. I haven't swatched anything. All I did was take it out of the package and look at it. As I'm sure you can tell, I did already do my base. I did not do any highlight, bronzer, or blush or anything because I really wanted to play with pretty much this whole entire section. That's where we're going to start, but first I still think I want to do a couple of swatches. I see this one purple that looks like it could be shimmery, but also like it could be a matte. I kind of want to swatch that one. There's quite a few that are like that. I don't know if they just have glitter from a fallout from the other shadows in this palette or what the deal is with that. I am very excited. It may not seem like it. It is once again very early in the morning. All right, so I'm first swatching that one that I showed you. That does not give me high hopes for this. That is not a good swatch. It is not very creamy. It is very crumbly, very patchy. You know what? We're not going to swatch anymore. That's not a true test as to how the shadows are going to perform. We're just going to jump right into this. First things first, I want to start with the face products. I feel like this one has a potential to be a pretty good bronzer for me, so let's start there. That is very pigmented. I really wasn't expecting that. All right, we're off to a pretty good start here. I'm barely even dipping my brush into this. I'm going to show you the next time I tap my brush into this product how much I'm picking up, and it's really not very much at all. So my faith has been restored in this palette. This one shade I've dipped into is performing pretty well. It's pigmented, it's blending very nicely. So I'm really just barely tapping into it, and look at all that payoff. I mean, I barely tapped into that. I'm not noticing a whole lot of the shimmer transferring onto my face, but it is definitely still in there. So it's not one of those cases where it's just like a nice little sheen of shimmer on top, and then the first couple times you dip into it, that shimmer is just completely gone. I don't think that's the case with this. And I think that's probably enough bronzer. So now let's move on to the blush. And your girl loves some blush. I think to be safe, I'm gonna stick with this pink one here. I think this one would also be a pretty good shade for me. I really want to play with these two, but I have a feeling they're going to be way too dark and way too pigmented. So for now, let's just start with this one. I also want to say that there is like a scent coming from this palette, but I can't decide if it's actually the palette that smells, like the plastic around the pans, you know, or if it's actually the shadows themselves that stink. I kind of am leaning towards it more being the plasticky palette because there is a whole lot of plastic going on here. And for this palette to only be $41, they definitely had to cut corners somewhere, so that could explain the plastic smell that I'm smelling coming from it. So this blush is pretty pigmented, but it's showing up about how I expected it to. So I'm gonna dip into this really pink one right next to it. Okay, that might have been a mistake, but it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna make it work. Ooh, that is so pink. Oh, seriously, look at this pigment. I'm impressed with this palette so far. Definitely thinking it was worth every bit of my money. Alright, so apparently I am feeling a very heavy blush moment today, so that's what we're going with. Although I'm sure it is not at all picking up on camera like it is in real life. So I'm gonna go back into that first pink and add a little bit of it to my forehead. Okay, I think that is probably good on the blush. And now we get to play with some highlight. I'm so sorry. For the highlight, I really am drawn towards this one and this one. I usually tend to lean towards more of a pink toned highlight anyway, so that's probably why I'm leaning towards this one. But I think I kind of want to go with this one first just because it is a little bit lighter. This brush really just is not picking up hardly any product. Ooh, okay, so this highlight might not be where it's at for me. That is very anticlimactic for me. So we're gonna maybe have to try out all of these highlights. All right, now I'm gonna dip into this one. Let's see if we can actually get a decent amount of product on there. That's better. That's definitely better. Okay, faith has been restored. Ooh, that is definitely where it's at for me. So this one's probably my favorite. Granted, I have not tried all of the highlights yet, but of the two that I have, she's definitely my favorite. Now, let's play with some eyeshadow. I'm going to start by priming my eyes using the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer in the shade Light Peach. Eyes are primed. I think I want to do a couple more neutral-friendly looks and then also a couple of colorful looks. So what I think I'm gonna do to start is I'm gonna take some more of the browns for one eye and then some more of the pinky shades for the other eye, and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna start by dipping into this like burgundy. It's a little bit more on the rosy toned side than the burgundy, I guess. A nice wine shade. I'm just really not good at like describing shades, so yeah, there's that. Anyways, I'm gonna stick that right into my crease. All right, so far we're impressed. I was expecting this to be much more patchy after that initial swatch that I tried to do. So far, I'm extremely impressed. All right, I really was not expecting this pigment. I'm just hoping that the shadows blend well, because if they do, this palette is a game changer. I'm focusing the majority of the shadow on the crease. And now I'm gonna go in with this fluffier brush. I'm gonna go with this more pink. There's so many shades of pink in this palette. It's not even funny. And we're just gonna use that to blend out that. Oh, that is so much fallout. I even blew my brush off. Oh. Okay, we fixed it. Anyways, I'm gonna use that shade to kind of blend out that first one. Ooh, I am really loving this look. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I had absolutely no direction when I sat down. I just knew I wanted to play with this palette and that was it. So this really could just go either way. I am loving this pigment. Yo, these shadows are blending perfectly. Like, this is taking no effort. I'm not even kidding. I think this is more impressive than any of my expensive palettes combined. Yeah, this is an impressive palette. Seriously, look at this blend. This is taking like no effort. Ooh. Yes, I kind of think we're maybe almost done with this eye. I'm going to tap back into that first shade just a tiny bit with that first brush, and I'm going to go along the lower lash line. I'm only going to bring it about a quarter to halfway in, about halfway, and then going back in with that second shade and the second brush to blend all of that out. I like how I said I was going to do some more neutral toned looks, and yeah, it's still very bright. So for the lid, I'm thinking I want to try out this like nice gold shimmery. It's got a little bit of pink flakes in it, and I really think this is where it's gonna really put this palette to the test, because I really struggle with glitters. I don't know what it is. I've tried every base imaginable and they just don't work on my eyelids. They always end up creasing after like 0.2 seconds, so they kind of drive me nuts, but we're gonna try it. This is gorgeous. Ooh, so glittery. I am officially blown away. I'm gonna go back in and add a little bit more to that lid with that first shade, but other than that, this look, this palette, ooh, she wins every award in my book. For real, how is this palette gonna be this good? You're telling me this palette is just gonna be amazing and that's it? I don't believe it. I feel like there's gotta be some sort of a catch here because there's no way it could just be this good, right? It is so good. We're gonna go move on to the next eye, and I think for this one I was thinking about doing something with like the really dark browns, but since this eye already is like so intense, I feel like I need to do something that's not so intense. My real issue is that there aren't very many like neutral toned browns that aren't super dark, because these are really the only real browns in this palette and they're really dark. I'm just never really one to lean towards these pinky caramely brown shades, so that's why I'm struggling here. I think I'm just gonna go in with this shade on this nice fluffy brush, and while I'm gonna focus it on the crease, I'm really just gonna kind of blow out the whole brow bone with this. There is so much fallout in this palette. That is definitely the downfall of it, but at least it's like super easy to clean up. You know, sometimes you get those palettes where you get a lot of fallout and it is impossible to get that fallout out without like ruining your makeup. So there's that. Ooh, I am loving this shade. Also, I want to point out that this one is kind of shimmery in the palette, but once I get it on the eye, there is zero shimmer left. Okay, my cat thought he needed to join me, so I had to back away a little bit. So sorry about that. But basically what I want to do with this shade is kind of focus the majority of the product on the lid, as you can see, and then I'm just gonna go in and blend those edges until they just kind of disappear into the rest of my skin, if that makes any sense. I'm gonna tap into this shade with this nice crease brush. It is a very dense brush, and then I'm just gonna really pack this along the outer portion of my lash line. I'm only gonna go about halfway in with it. On this outer edge, I'm blending it into that first shade, and then I'm gonna go back in with that first brush and just blend it all out. So I'm thinking some of these shades in this palette look much darker in the pan, and then once you get them on your face, they're like, you know, because that really wasn't that much darker than that first shade we went in with, and it looks substantially darker in the palette. So okay, I'm kind of gonna go back just a little bit on what I said. I still stand by this palette being truly amazing, but for there being 117 shades in this palette, too many of them are too similar for me, you feel? I'm also gonna go in with this shade on the lower lash line, and I'm gonna bring it about halfway in like we did on that other eye, and then going back in with just a tiny bit of that first shade to blend everything out. And then for the lid, I really want to go in with this shimmery one here. I can't tell if all the shimmers are supposed to be glitter or what the deal is with that. I might be a little bit disappointed if they're all like glittery, you know? This one feels more like a jelly shimmer, and I'm just not getting it out of there. All right, there we go. Now we got something on this brush. Look at how pigmented. Oh, we're getting shadow everywhere, but it is worth it. Oh, these shimmers, the shimmers in this palette alone, the glitters, the shimmers, all of it, they are worth everything. Ooh, yes, this is everything. Is this just not the most gorgeous eyeshadow shimmer you've ever seen in your life? That was like, I didn't even dip back into it. All right, so here are the first two looks, and if you watched my last video where I did something like this, I don't like adding lashes if I'm gonna just wipe it off and throw a new look on, so I would definitely go with a very minimal but like wingy lash on this eye, and then this one, she needs a very dramatic, very full, very fluffy lash. But I am incredibly impressed with this glitter still. All right, I'm gonna wipe this off, then we can get started with the colors, which we all know is where it's at for me. All right, so I was just about to wipe these two looks off when I got a better look at this one, and I did notice that I do have some significant creasing happening with that glitter, which, I mean, it's not a huge issue. If I want to wear glitter shadows, I usually just kind of press it around with my finger like that, and it usually fixes it. So, just wanted to get that out there. I'm for reals gonna go wipe this look off now, and then we can get started with the colorful looks. And now for the other two eyes, I did already reprime my eyes using the e.l.f. 16 Hour Camo Concealer yet again. So for one eye, I'm thinking I want to go in with this page, and then for the next eye, for the other eye, we're going to go in with this page. I just don't really know where I want to start. So this fuchsia shade is really calling my name. Screw it, we're going with the pinks. So I'm going to start by taking that fuchsia shade on this crease brush. And I'm going to do it on the same eye because I did not quite get all of that pinkiness off. So we're just going to pretend that's not there. I'm going to go in with this fuchsia shade, which I'm having to dip back into quite a bit to get enough pigment. But I'm going to go in with this on the outer half of the crease. Once again, we're still getting some fallout. I'm going to go into the one right below that. And I'm just going to place that directly in front of that fuchsia shade. I just cannot get over how well these shades blend. Honestly, the blending is beyond anything I could have ever imagined from this palette. I am not even joking. This palette blends better than like every palette that I've ever used. I don't even know what to say. It's just unbelievable how well these shadows blend. So far I haven't run into any patchiness either, so I don't know what else to say about this palette other than it's pretty darn amazing. And as I'm sure you can tell, I'm also using that shade to blend out that fuchsia shade, which now we're kind of losing the fuchsia pigment. So I'm going to go back in and add just a little bit more to that. I'm kind of slightly unimpressed with this second shade I'm going in with because it is really just blending into this nothingness of very light pinkness, which I was not expecting. It is so bright in the palette. I was expecting it to be a very neon bright pink shade, but it's a little underwhelming. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the crease now. For the lid on this eye, I'm gonna go in with this like neon yellow shade. And I really can't decide what I want to do on my lower lash line yet, so we just might leave that for a little bit. Okay, this shade is, once again, these ones that are like not glittery, they're like a jelly texture. And they're kind of hard to get out of the pan, but once they do, you get some serious payoff. Okay, I think I'm gonna go in with my finger because this brush is just not doing it for me. Oh yes, that is working so much better. Oh man. So I know I said I wanted to stick to this page for this eye, but I think I really want to go in with one of these two greens. I cannot decide for this lower lash line. I think we're gonna go with this lighter green. And that's really not doing anything. Well, that's disappointing. Oh, there's like nothing coming out of this. Let me try a different brush. Definitely got some eyeshadow in my eye. No. I think we have officially hit the peak for this palette, and it is becoming a little disappointing. This green is just doing nothing for me. Alright, I'm gonna leave that for a little bit and we're gonna move on to the other eye. I might come back and try to fix this a little bit because I'm not satisfied with this eye. So originally I was thinking about playing with these lighter shades, but now I kind of want to go in with like these deeper blues and purples just because that last green was so disappointing. We can't end on a bad note, can we? So I'm going to start by going into this really deep blue. It's got a little bit of shimmer in it, but I really don't think that's going to be an issue once we get it on the eye. And I'm going to go into the outer half of the crease. I'm definitely noticing that the colorful shadows are struggling way more than the neutral ones did. Those neutrals were just everything. They were so pigmented. I'm really having to work for this pigment. I'm gonna add a little bit more, and I think that's really all the better it's gonna get. I also really just want to quickly drag this along the lower lash line, just like the outer half, and it's really messy, but we'll fix it later. And then I'm going to go into this nice plum purple, light plum purple. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not good at describing colors, so. And then I'm just going to apply this directly to the crease right in front of that blue. This one is coming out very patchy, and it's definitely not very pigmented. So basically, the colorful part of this palette, the mattes that are colorful, they're just kind of there for decoration. Some of them work, some of them don't. That is very patchy. I cannot get this to not be patchy. I also really did not want to go this high with this shade, but every time I try to add more pigment to where it is getting incredibly patchy, it just kind of pushes the shadow up higher, and I cannot get that pigment there. So I think we're just gonna have to kind of leave that, and then I'm gonna go in and blend that out and try to kind of fix that. I think I'm just gonna blend with nothing on this brush. This is definitely helping, but we still do not have hardly any pigmentation there on that inner half of the eye. I think it looks not good next to that blue. And I really just don't think there's going to be any saving that purple, because I don't think any of the other purples are going to work as any better than this one is. I'm going to go in with the one that was right above that, which is the one I tried to swatch at the beginning. This does not seem to be helping either. We're getting a little bit more cling from this one than that last one, but it's still not good. Oh, that is so patchy. Okay, I'm just going to leave that purple alone. I don't think we can make that any better. And I'm just going to go back in with the same brush because I don't think we can ruin this look any more than it already has been. And I'm going to dip into this nice light blue shade. Ooh, that one is nice and pigmented. I think it's really just, I don't know, just certain shades in this palette that are just not pigmented, I guess. Okay, I take that back. It's getting patchy. Once I start blending, it's getting patchy. And also dragging it along the lower lash line. Ooh, this eye. It got out of control fast. I'm gonna go in with a clean brush and just try to help it. It kind of looks like I gave myself a black eye. Wow, I think we found all the crappy pigments on this one eye. I mean, it's not good. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit more of the green and try to make this work. Okay. That's all the better that's getting. I think the only way we're gonna save this eye is if I cut the crease, so I'm gonna do that real quick. To finish up this eye, I'm thinking I want to go in with this second, like, white glittery shade. It's got a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple in it. I think it'll just maybe help make this look a little bit better. Oh, this is cute. There's even like little stars in this glitter shade. I don't know if we'll be able to see it at all, but it's cute. Alright, so normally this would be the point where I would apply lashes, but honestly, I'm just not even gonna bother because I don't love either of these looks, and this one is just so incredibly patchy. I mean, this whole blown out blue is a little bit my fault, but it also is because it is so patchy. So I think my overall opinion of this palette is it's not the best, but for $40 these shimmers are definitely worth it. The glitters and the shimmers, they're worth it for the $40. Plus I really am enjoying this face palette part of it. I'm totally gonna keep this little plastic thing because as soon as I closed this, I was getting mixing, and we don't want that. But overall, the shimmers, the glitters, they are golden in this palette. The rest of it, it's really just hit and miss with the matte. I think with the more neutral tone mattes, I think you're just going to be fine no matter what, because that was definitely the vibe I was getting. Every single matte that I touched on the neutral side was great. It worked perfectly, it blended well, there was no patchiness. It's really just the colors that are having issues, and I'm kind of thinking that's why there are so many shimmers on the colorful side, is because they kind of knew their mattes suck, and so they're like, hey, let's just make up for it with all these shimmers. And honestly, I'm kind of fine with that because I already have plenty of palettes with all the mattes that are colorful, and usually they just don't come with enough of the shimmery colors. So if you're like me and you love you love a good shimmery, colorful look, this palette is definitely something I would recommend. Also, if you're not like super into makeup, you just kind of want to play around, I think this palette would be a good place to start because, like I said, it's only $41 for all of this. So, good place to start, but if you're somebody who knows more of what you're doing with makeup, you might not love it as much. I don't know, I'm really conflicted because, like I said, the shimmers and the glitters are so good in this palette. And then face products from this palette are also golden. But it's just those colorful mattes that are really making me be like, I don't know if it's worth it, you know? Overall, would I recommend this palette? I would say buy at your own discretion. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. Let me know in the comments which of these 4 looks you like the best. We're going to mark the first look I did number 1, the second look I did number 2, 3, and 4. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. I think I'm going to have to go with number 1 for my favorite. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you go. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!